Hey everyone, this is Catherine from Research Rockstar, and thanks for joining me for another Conversations for Research Rockstars. So, I want to start today by asking you a question. What percent of your job is project management? Think about over the course maybe of a typical week, your week, the week in the life of a market researcher, right? What percent of that time is actually spent on project management? So, here's one possible scenario. Maybe you spend about 10% of your time on project management. Maybe that's what you do. And maybe you spend, some other time in meetings and presentations, maybe on analysis and reporting, maybe methodology and design, right? Maybe it kind of splits out a little bit there. What do you think? Is that 10% on project management too high? Or is it too low? So I think that for most market researchers, it was probably very low. I think the brutal reality is that those of us who do professional research, when we're involved in doing actual research, we do a lot of project management. And whether you're doing different types of market research methodologies or mixing methodologies, at some point we're usually managing projects. And so, what do you think of this? Maybe it's more like 60% of the time is on project management. Now, this is the reality, I think, for some people. Now, maybe this is a little extreme, but would you say at least 40% anyway? So, if we really think about how much time we realistically spend on a weekly basis on project management, then, I think one of the challenges we have is that it's such an important part of what we do, but I feel that it often is neglected, that people don't appreciate sometimes how much work we're doing on project management. And I also sometimes feel like there's some other challenges too. I see a lot of cases where people aren't really being given enough time to work through what are really always very complex projects. So even if we just use a survey research project as a very simple example, obviously there are many different methodologies these days, but if we use a survey research project as an example, here's a very simple flowchart that shows the different steps that are involved in doing this type of research, right? You start off at some point with a kickoff meeting, whether you're working with internal clients or external clients, your colleagues, your management, whoever you're working with, there's always going to be some sort of kickoff meeting when we're initiating any kind of market research or customer insights project. And I'm not going to step through all the parts of conducting a survey research project. I will post a link to this diagram for people who might like to see it. But basically, think about it this way. There are several key phases of doing any kind of survey research project. There is some sort of kickoff, after which we have to create some deliverables. Now, different teams call these deliverables different things, but you have something that includes some sort of schedule, a sampling plan, a data analysis plan, etc. Then we've got the whole questionnaire design process. And that can be an iterative process. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 iterations. Sometimes it's, unfortunately, many, many more. But when we have an iterative process, that's something that's active project management. And it does take active project management attention for that iterative process to go well. We all know this from experience. But there are other steps then afterwards before we even get into data collection. Now we've got to do whatever programming, and there's got to be some quality checking to make sure that the programming is correct. We have to do some pre-testing, right? Maybe there's another iteration after the pre-test to make sure we apply those learnings. So again, a lot of different steps. And then of course we've got a huge process around analysis and creating visuals and synthesis, right? And these days, that part of the process also requires very active project management because the analysis and deliverables process for many research is now a highly collaborative process too. Again, whether you're working with internal clients and colleagues or external clients, we often find these days that when we're delivering research reports, research presentations, that people want to be involved with it. And we definitely see a lot of interest from clients in wanting to collaborate. What that means, though, for us is that's very active project management. We have to be managing that process of how our analysis, our charts, our synthesis, our PowerPoint is going to get refined and redelivered in an iterative process, getting further collaboration or approvals before we can consider that part of the project done. So collaboration is great, but it does require active project management. Otherwise, it falls into that never-ending project, right? You're always waiting for people to get back. You have to manage people through the process, which is actually a really great point. If we go with the assumption that actually probably somewhere between 40 and 60% of market research professionals' time each week is on project management. A lot of that is actually client management, right? All the things you need to do to coordinate with your clients and your colleagues. And people management does take real proactive, tactical actions on a regular basis. These are not things that you manage once a week. Projects have to be managed every day. And so I think that sometimes when projects are getting scoped, for example, I don't always see adequate time being set aside for true project management. So I feel like it's something that many of us who work in the field, we know project management's important, but we kind of get squeezed on it a bit. So I feel like this is an opportunity for us to improve the work of market researchers by trying to think about what we can do to improve the project management aspect and make sure that we have enough time and tools to really do project management on a consistent way. Frankly, I see a lot of cases where people aren't given enough time on a daily basis for project management. And I also see a lot of cases, and I hear this from a lot of Research Rockstar students, where they say that one of the reasons that they're taking classes is because there's no real sharing internally at their organization of how to do this stuff, whether it's managing a survey design or managing an IDI project or managing a social media sentiment analysis project, whatever it is. They came into a work situation where there really wasn't any good documentation or processes for sharing how that organization really, in its ideal form does project management. So a lot of people feel like they kind of have to figure this stuff out through a lot of trial and error. But there are solutions for this. So let me just share 3 solutions. If you're with me and you feel like project management is sort of a semi-neglected part of our profession, I think there are a few things we can all do to improve the quality of project management and thus, of course, our overall work and work satisfaction. First of all, if you're not using project management tools, I really encourage you to do so. I know a lot of people gave up on them a few years ago because there were some, 5 to 10 years ago, the project management tools that were out there were fairly limited. A lot of progress has been made. Personally, I'm a big fan of Wrike, which is spelled WRIKE. A lot of people like Asana. A lot of people like Basecamp. There are various platforms out there. And if you use a true project management tool, you will find that it's much easier for you to, on a daily basis, very efficiently manage these very complex projects. You can create custom workflows for managing your focus group projects versus your survey projects, for example. There are a lot of cool things you can do to automate how the workflow gets assigned to different people who may be on your team, who may have responsibility for different parts of a project, because that's part of project management too, delegation, and then making sure those things that you delegate actually get done. I think there's also an opportunity to improve project management and the attention that is spent on it, or the attention that it gets, by educating our clients and colleagues about the process. For example, I often have people tell me that they use the flow chart, because I share these flow charts in all sorts of speaking and classes. And this flow chart here that actually shows the steps of doing a survey research project, just walking that through with a new client can give that client an appreciation of the fact that there are a lot of moving parts and that there are going to be times of the week where you need to put on your project management hat and just make sure that stuff is getting done and it's getting done on time and on budget and that you're managing the client. So sometimes just a little education so that they're aware of how complex the project is can really make them appreciate that you do need adequate time. Of course, if you do want to learn more about project management skills, there are some awesome places where you can learn about project management. I am a big fan of the Project Management Institute. And I'm showing just a screenshot of the Project Management Institute, part of their learning catalog. They literally offer over 100 courses a year, some of them very general project management oriented, and some of them with different specialties. They even have certification options for people who really want to get into project management. It's really an impressive learning catalog. But of course, there are other places to learn about project management online too. I'm a big fan of lynda.com. Those of you who use LinkedIn, you probably have seen the Lynda ads pop up since LinkedIn acquired Lynda. And again, tons of courses on project management. So if you feel like you or somebody on your team could really use like a foundation and classic project management skills, these are some really easy, very affordable options. Now, of course, at Research Rockstar, we do offer training as well. Our training is specific to market research specific topics. So for example, we have a class called Conducting Research Interviews, 12 Tips for a Stress-Free Process. And that's like how to manage the process of doing an in-depth interview project. Same with our 10-point checklist for questionnaire design. Very specific, just on the specific topic of managing questionnaire design processes. And those are just a couple of examples. But you do have some choices there. So you can take some really general foundational project management training. You might consider some training from Research Rockstar or other companies that are about project management and process management for market research specific projects. But in either case, a little bit of training really can have an impact on your comfort with taking a very proactive role with project management. And who knows, maybe you can get that 60% if you were at the high end, closer to 40% with a little training and maybe some more tools. I hope that was a helpful conversation for folks. Again, I'm a real enthusiast about making sure that we are given enough time and tools to do project management well, because I really feel that we do spend a lot of time on project management. Project management, again, also includes client management. So that's a lot of what we do on a week-to-week basis. So if you feel like you might have an opportunity to help your team do a better job on project management, consider educating your clients, consider trying some tools, and consider some training. Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions or if there's anything else that you'd like to know about this topic, please feel free to contact me here or use the comments section below. Have a great day, everybody.